today in Rich in Relationship. We're going to talk about the dopamine trap, that natural drug that makes you want to keep coming back. I've worked with men who no longer enjoy having sex with their partner, who they love, because their partner just can't live up to the fantasy world they've developed about sex through pornography. Real winning is joy that lasts, not short highs that fade and numb out your days. Real winning is having a connection with yourself that allows you to have the full range of emotions. Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship, and I'm your host, Rich Heller. And today we're going to do a deep dive into the dopamine trap. Last episode was all about just general distraction from life through screens, and the next couple of episodes are deep dives into ways that you can do that. Let's go to a listener question. I should be happy. I've got success, beautiful wife, beautiful house, golf, and yet my life feels flat. Greg, I suspect that what's happened is you have fallen into the dopamine trap. In order to understand the dopamine trap, you first need to understand really what is dopamine. We mention it on this show with some frequency. Some of you may or may not know what it is. I'm not a doctor, nor am I a biologist, but in essence, dopamine is the chemical that our brain releases as a reward. It's a feel-good chemical. When you finish a task, some dopamine is released. And what's happened is, over time, we as human beings have learned how to manipulate our brain into releasing this chemical reward. And we've looked for faster and better ways to do it. We're basically pleasure seekers. We seek pleasure and avoid pain. Makes sense, right? Who wants pain? Oh, right. Pleasure is what it's all about, isn't it? The challenge is that overuse or over-release of dopamine leads to a decreased baseline of happiness. Or let me put it another way. Let's take an example from the world of drug addiction. The first time someone shoots heroin or snorts heroin, and heroin is structured very much like dopamine, actually. It hits the same centers of the brain. It's an amazing high. But when that person uses heroin over a long period of time, daily, it stops getting them high. It just kind of gets them normal. Well, the same thing is true of us. If we're always chasing dopamine and pushing our body to release dopamine, eventually we don't enjoy it. The fact is that without contrast, life feels flat. We have to have a certain amount of pain to really appreciate pleasure. Now, I'm not talking about pain like you lose an arm pain. I'm talking about the pain of push-ups, right? If you're doing a set of push-ups, when you get to the end, it gets hard, or maybe you're weightlifting, or maybe you're a runner, whatever you do. But when you get to that part where you have to push a little, it starts to hurt. Or maybe stretching is a better example. You're trying to stretch out a muscle, and at the beginning it feels good, but then as you get to where the real tension is, there's pain. But it isn't the pain of you're damaging yourself. It's the pain of getting past a mental barrier you have about where you are and where you want to be. Real joy only occurs with challenge. The top of the mountain is useless without the struggle of climbing it. How many ways can I say this? And we live in a culture today where there's premeditated manipulation of our dopamine system through phones, premeditated manipulation of our dopamine system through streaming, premeditated manipulation of our dopamine system through pornography, premeditated manipulation of our dopamine system through work reward, you name it. And that's why even when you're succeeding, it stops feeling like enough. I get plenty of partners, particularly wives, who do not understand why their husband is spending hours gaming or scrolling instead of spending time with them. Where the only way they can spend time together is gaming together, even though she doesn't really love it. She'll do it just to get time with him. Tech gaming, the quick wins of tech gaming, of playing backgammon, cards, any game you can think of. I don't do a lot of gaming. The quick wins are all a way to get a dopamine hit. Or the endless novelty of a game that gets progressively a little more harder, but not so hard that you can't win. Or that they give you endless lives, so if you die, it isn't really a loss. Or let's talk about pornography. Pornography is one of those insidious addictions in the world right now. I've worked with men who no longer enjoy having sex with their partner, who they love, because their partner just can't live up to the fantasy world they've developed about sex through pornography. I've worked with men who adore their wives and are still paying for sex with other people because the only way they can mimic pornography is by paying someone to do something like what they've seen in pornography. It's absolutely addictive and destructive. And pornography is designed, just like games, to give us a dopamine hit. Some people use work this way, and we're going to do a whole episode on work. The promotions, the praise, the accomplishment. The fact is that men are 2 times more likely than women to develop behavioral addictions like gaming or porn. 2 times more likely. But my argument is that's changing. With AI coming on and women being more relational, I think that they're going to develop relationship addictions with AI. We're seeing evidence of this. If you Google it and look at newspaper articles, we're seeing evidence of this coming on even now. There are false highs that come with these things, and eventually we forget the value of real connection. And the overstimulation in the make-believe world of games, of screens, makes real life feel less exciting, and it leads to under-engagement with our partners, under-engagement with our families, and under-engagement in our own lives. We become so obsessed with getting the next hit through a game that we lose sight of our own sense of personal development and growth. It is sad. It is tragic. It is a tragedy. I've had guys call me up and say, why do I feel like nothing excites me anymore? It's because the dopamine trap blunts you emotionally. It makes it harder to feel joy and intimacy. It makes it hard to appreciate being a parent, to really be present for your kid. It makes it almost impossible to savor simple things. And our partner feels shut out or inadequate, and life becomes a chase for more, better, different. And it's encouraged by the wider culture. It's encouraged by the wider culture because it means greater productivity. It's encouraged by the wider culture because it makes us more malleable, and it makes the economy more predictable, and it makes everything more manageable. Couples where one partner reports tech or screen overuse are 30% less satisfied in their marriage, says the Journal of Applied Research in Quality of Life in 2020. And how could they not be less satisfied when their partner's affect is flat? They're less emotionally available. There's less sexual intimacy, or if there is sex, it's less intimate. It's mechanical. It's physical. And kids cue in on this. They see what you're doing and they want to do it too. I'm not talking about the pornography, but that too. It's insane, some of the things that's happening with teens and AI and pornography. Teens who are quick to learn, super creative, they're getting their hands on this new tech and doing really impressively amazing, but not so healthy things, creating their own pornography on AI, using faces of their desired partners and bodies of what they wish their desired partners had. Male brains are wired for reward, and they seek repetitive mastery. And so that's why men are twice as likely to fall into this track. Men are less trained in emotional regulation, right? Women, the brain that evolves in a genetically female body naturally has better emotional regulation and tunes into surrounding emotions better than a brain that evolves in a male body. And plus, culturally, men aren't trained to do this either. And so they don't even notice until it's too late that they've slipped into the trap of external reward instead of internal growth. And as I said, there's a lot of cultural permission. There's games, there's porn, there's movies, there's all these models of guys who are out doing incredibly stimulating stuff, and then they seem to be emotionally available afterwards. If you want to get your motivation back, your mojo, you want to get your mojo back, get some excitement back into your life, you got to reset your system. Some of you may need to go to a monastery and detox for a week or two. Some of you may be able to go and do it in small pieces. First of all, you might want to try just not having a device on at certain hours of the day. We talked about this in the last episode, but this is for you who are really stuck on it. I made a joke about my phone in the last episode that I have a phone that also turns into a screen. But the truth about this is the deal I've made with myself is that I only will use the front screen for work, and I will only open this up for pleasure. And the act of opening the phone needs to be conscious. I can't just say, oh, I need to see this on the big screen. What that means is that at lunch, I might open the screen to read the paper. After dinner, I might open the screen to play a game. The rest of the time, I'm only going to do business calls and business text messages. That's a game I'm playing with myself to limit my screen use. What are some creative ways that you can do it? By the way, this technique, I could go completely the opposite with it if I weren't on it. Right? We all need to be monitoring and managing our screen use because in a lot of ways, screens are like food today. We need laptops in order to work, most of us. We need screens in order to work, most of us. We connect to people through screens, most of us at one time or another. And so we need to be very conscious about how we use them so that we don't become unconsciously addicted. So first, I would say actually before you've set boundaries, why don't you just monitor how much you're using your screens and what for? Maybe keep a notebook. I wouldn't put it in your screen of how you're using it. I would say cut out all your notifications if at all possible to reduce interruptions. If you're watching pornography, just stop. Like that stuff is just toxic. It is poison. You need to go cold turkey off of that right now because just go read the statistics on pornography. If you don't believe me, Google, men, pornography and addiction. And more women are turning to pornography. So this is becoming a problem for women also. Google the statistics on this and just learn how addictive this is. And do you really want to be giving away your personal intimacy and your experience of having great sex with your partner by fulfilling this addiction? There's no managing this. I would be careful about what you watch. I am now stopping watching bang, bang, shoot 'em up movies when possible because they're just insane. It's always about a guy, sometimes a lady. Now they have women who are the cold-blooded killers too, right? Man or a woman who's a cold-blooded killer. And for a good cause, they massacre everyone and then they go home and love their partner or love their child, which in real life doesn't happen. In real life, when you massacre everyone, you have PTSD and you can't connect with people. So I've stopped watching stuff like this because it's toxic. What we put into our unconscious mind not only is addictive, but it starts becoming a model for how we should behave. And so if we want to have more care and concern, then we need to be very careful about what we put in. If you're worried about, not being able to defend your family, if this sounds like, oh, this rich guy is a pussy, forgive the term, ladies, but this is like what guys will call each other when one guy is advocating for being more emotional and being more available, then go box, go do martial arts, go get your yayas out there. If you feel like you need to be a warrior, go be a warrior. I've been doing martial arts for 40 years. I don't need to watch Jean-Claude Van Damme. I don't need to watch whoever. Real winning is joy that lasts, not short highs that fade and numb out your days. Real winning is having a connection with yourself, a connection with yourself that allows you to have the full range of emotions, a connection with yourself that allows you to express the full range of emotions through anything creative that you can imagine. Everything you put out is a creation. The words you put out is a creation. I am creating right now as I speak to you. Whatever you do that is an expression of you will be richer and fuller as you cut these things out and get in touch with yourself and then connect with your partner and then together connect with your children and separately connect with your children. The only antidote to flatness, this flat life of the dopamine trap, is to build a life rich in relationship with yourself, rich in relationship with the God of your understanding, rich in relationship with your partner, rich in relationship with your children, your extended family, your community, your work. Have an awesome day and an amazing tomorrow.